Everyone talks about confidence, success, and influence, but none of those things truly matter until you own who you are, deeply, unapologetically, completely. Owning your identity isn't just about confidence, it's about clarity. It's about refusing to live life performing someone else's script. From a young age, we're taught to follow rules, traditions, and trends, what to wear, how to behave, who to be. But at some point, the bravest thing you can do is ask yourself, who am I really when no one's watching? That question isn't easy, and answering it takes courage most people run from. When you start owning your identity, you shift the game. You stop shrinking yourself in rooms where you're meant to expand. You stop asking for validation and start offering value. You begin to understand that being liked is overrated and being real is unstoppable. The world doesn't need another copy of someone who's already made it. It needs the raw, flawed, unfiltered version of you, because that's where originality lives. Owning your identity means walking into rooms and not adjusting your vibe to match the crowd. It means embracing your story, even the messy chapters, because those pages hold power. You stop apologizing for your past, your culture, your accent, your choices. You start realizing that the very things you once tried to hide are the things that make you magnetic. People will try to define you by their comfort zones. They'll say you're too much, too loud, too ambitious, too emotional, but those words are reflections of their limits, not yours. When you truly own your identity, those judgments become noise, and you become the storm. You don't dim your light. You make it so bright they can't ignore it. You stop playing small just to fit into spaces that were never built for you in the first place. You start showing up differently. Your energy speaks before you even say a word. You don't need to prove yourself because your presence is proof. You begin to realize that power isn't in perfection, it's in presence. It's in standing tall in your truth when the world tells you to shrink. It's in refusing to let your value be negotiated by trends or timelines. There is freedom in owning your identity, real freedom, the kind that no one can give you and no one can take away, the kind that comes when you choose yourself in a world that constantly tries to make you someone else. Because when you own your identity, you don't just exist, you command space, you don't just survive, you lead. You stop doubting and start daring. You're not here to blend in. You're here to build a legacy so unapologetically true to you that even your silence will echo through every room you leave behind. You're not seeking approval. You are setting the standard. Your name, your story, your energy, your voice. It all matters. Not when someone else sees it, but the moment you do. There's a silent pressure that wraps itself around so many lives. The pressure to fit in, to conform, to meet invisible standards that were never meant for you in the first place. From the moment you begin to discover who you are, the world starts telling you who you should be, what's acceptable, what's attractive, what's enough. These molds, shaped by society, culture, expectations, and outdated norms, become invisible prisons we don't even realize we're trapped in. But here's the truth that no one tells you. You were never meant to fit the mold. You were born to break it. Rejecting the mold isn't rebellion. It's liberation. It's the realization that those standards were not built with your individuality in mind. The mold says be quieter. You speak louder. The mold says tone it down. You turn it all the way up. The mold says stay in line. You draw your own. This isn't about disrespect. It's about self-respect. Because when you allow yourself to be shaped by someone else's version of success, you abandon the one thing that makes you powerful, your authenticity. The mold will always be too small for those who are meant to stand tall. It was never made for your wild ideas, your big dreams, your unfiltered energy. That's why it feels uncomfortable. That's why it suffocates, because you were designed to take up space, not shrink inside someone else's frame. And the moment you recognize that, the moment you stop contorting yourself to make others comfortable, is the moment you begin to rise, look at the world around you, the people who lead movements, who redefine industries, who inspire change. They didn't follow the mold. They shattered it. They weren't worried about being too much or not enough. They focused on being real, raw, and relentlessly themselves. And that's exactly what made them unforgettable. Because when you show up as your true self in a world that pushes you to be a copy, you disrupt everything. You become a force. You become undeniable. And yes, rejecting the mold will come with resistance. People won't understand you. They'll question your choices. They'll label you, try to put you in a box just so they can feel safe again. But safety was never the goal. Freedom was, growth was, becoming your own version was, and that can't happen if you're trapped inside a version of yourself you don't even recognize. You weren't born to chase approval. You were born to chase purpose, and purpose doesn't live inside pre-approved boxes. It lives in the edges, in the chaos, in the moments where you dare to be different, even when it makes others uncomfortable. So take up that space, dress how you want, speak how you feel, dream as loud as you can. Your truth will always be more powerful than someone else's expectations, because the mold may promise acceptance, but it will never give you freedom. Silence is misunderstood. Most people think silence means weakness, submission, or uncertainty, but in truth, silence can be your most powerful weapon. It's in the silence that you sharpen your focus, build your strength, and prepare your next move. When the world is loud, when critics are screaming, when everyone wants a reaction, choose silence. Because not every battle deserves your energy, not every comment needs a reply, and not every accusation requires your defense. Sometimes the loudest thing you can do is say nothing and let your results speak. People often expect explanations when you grow. They demand reasons when you choose yourself, walk away, or outgrow spaces. But silence isn't avoidance, it's clarity. It's choosing not to waste breath convincing people who have already made up their minds. It's knowing your worth doesn't decrease just because someone else can't see it. Real power doesn't need to announce itself. It just walks in and shifts the energy. Let them underestimate you. Let them talk. Let them wonder what you're doing next. That mystery becomes your momentum. While they gossip, you grind. While they doubt, you design. While they question, you create. The world doesn't need to know your every move, because moves made in silence are the ones that shake the ground the hardest. We live in a world that glorifies noiso, oversharing, over-explaining, overreacting, but silence has its own language. It says, I don't need to prove anything, watch me. It's a declaration without words. It's a refusal to shrink, but also a refusal to beg, because silence isn't retreat, it's refinement. The quiet ones are often the ones with the loudest dreams. They're not hiding, they're building. And when you finally emerge, not with excuses but with execution, the world will have no choice but to pay attention. That's what silence does. It sets the stage for your entrance. It creates a tension that only your success can release. The ones who try to distract you with drama want to drain your discipline. Don't give them the satisfaction. Stay silent, stay focused, stay hungry. You don't owe the world your playbook. You don't need to update people every time you pivot. There is strength in withholding, in resisting the urge to be seen before you're ready. You're not falling behind. You're getting aligned. You're not lost. You're locked in. And when the time is right, your work will break through the noise like thunder after lightning. They won't remember what you said. They'll remember what you built. So guard your dreams like diamonds. Don't waste them on people who can't handle your vision. Let your silence be your shield and your results be your roar. Because in the end, it's not the one who speaks the most who wins. It's the one who moves in silence and lets their work echo louder than anything they could have said. Everyone wants a map, a formula. A well-lit path laid out with signs that say this way to success. But here's the truth that most people won't tell you. That path doesn't exist, not for the ones who are meant to do something extraordinary. When you choose to follow your own direction, you're not just walking a different road, you're building it from scratch, step by step, stone by stone. That's not easy, that's not comfortable, but that's exactly where greatness is born. Creating your own path means stepping off the paved road of expectations and into the wild terrain of possibility. It means saying no to the safety of repetition and yes to the risk of reinvention. You're not following a trail, you're laying one. And that's why people won't always understand you. They'll question your decisions, mock your detours, doubt your destination. But they can't see the vision you carry because it wasn't downloaded into them. It was born inside you. People will try to make you feel guilty for choosing the unmarked path. They'll say you've changed, that you're being unrealistic, that your dreams are too big, too bold, too impossible. Let them talk. Their fear is not your blueprint. Their limitations are not your responsibility. They walk roads paved by others. You were born to build your own, and every builder knows that the early stages look like chaos, like nothing is working. But foundations aren't supposed to be pretty, they're supposed to be strong. You see, when you build your own road, you learn things no follower ever will. You learn resilience, not the kind you read in books, but the kind you earn through setbacks, rejections, and breakthroughs. You develop instincts that can't be taught, only lived. You stop asking for directions and start trusting your inner compass. You become a creator, not just of your future, but of your identity, your voice, your influence. And what you build reflects you, not someone else's version of success, not society's checklist, not tradition's expectations, but you, raw and unfiltered. And there will be moments when you look around and realize no one else is walking beside you. That's when most people turn back, but you, the one building the road, you know that solitude isn't a sign of failure. It's a sign that you're ahead, that you're doing what few dare to, that you're carving through the unknown where the crowd hasn't yet reached. And with every bold step forward, the path behind you becomes a map for someone else who needed the courage to begin. So walk it even when it's lonely, build it even when it's uncertain, trust it even when it's invisible. Because your journey will never be defined by how well you followed others, it will be defined by how bravely you led yourself into the unknown and decided to keep going, no matter how many turns it took. Being unapologetically you is not an act of rebellion, it's an act of survival in a world that constantly tries to mold you, edit you, water you down to something more digestible. It takes fierce courage to stand in your truth without flinching. From the moment you begin to express who you are, people will try to tone it down. They'll suggest you be a little less loud, a little more agreeable, a little easier to understand, and slowly, if you're not careful, you start losing pieces of yourself just to keep the peace. But the world doesn't need another masked version of someone hiding behind expectations. It needs you, not the version you think will be accepted, not the one trained to please the room, the raw, unfiltered, intense, beautiful reality of who you really are. Because when you embrace that version without apology, you tap into a power that no title, no trend, no validation can ever match. You stop asking for seats at the table and start building your own. You stop performing and start living. And more importantly, you stop waiting for permission. They'll call you difficult, too emotional, too ambitious, too independent, too intense. Let them. Those labels are just projections of discomfort from people who never dared to be themselves. When you're unapologetically you, you make people confront their own limitations, and not everyone will like that. But your job was never to make people comfortable. Your job is to be real, even if it rattles cages. The energy of someone who fully owns themselves is magnetic, it's disruptive, it's unforgettable. You walk into rooms differently. You stop trying to blend in, because why blend in when you were built to be the contrast? You wear what you want, speak how you feel, love how you love, and live with a presence that says, I am not here to play small. And that energy, the one that radiates from someone who isn't afraid to be seen for exactly who they are, that's the energy that changes things. This isn't about being loud for the sake of volume. It's about being true, even when it's uncomfortable. It's about refusing to apologize for the things that make you different. It's about holding your ground when the world tells you to bend. When you're unapologetically you, you don't just take up space. You own it, you redefine it, you make it clear that authenticity is not a trend, it's a force, one that can't be mimicked, managed, or muted. Stop editing yourself to be liked. Stop shrinking your voice to be palatable. Stop dressing your truth in safer colors. Who you are is not too much. It's exactly right. Your difference is not a weakness, it's your superpower. And the moment you choose to embrace it instead of erase it, you give others permission to do the same. That ripple effect, that silent revolution of self-acceptance, begins the moment you decide that your story deserves to be lived out loud, and without apology. We live in a world obsessed with perfection. Airbrushed faces, flawless feeds, curated captions. Everything is polished, filtered, and controlled. But perfection is a lie, a mask we wear to feel accepted, a costume stitched together by fear of judgment. And behind that mask is something far more powerful than perfection could ever offer: realness. Being imperfect isn't a flaw, it's your finest feature. It's what makes you human, relatable, and unforgettable. The cracks in your story are where the light gets in. Flaws are not your weakness, they are your fingerprint. They're the uneven edges, the scars, the messy middle chapters that tell the world, I've lived, I've failed, I've risen. Perfection tries to make everything look clean and easy, but nothing worth building is ever clean or easy. Every strong person you admire has faced rejection, broken down in silence, questioned their worth, and made mistakes. Every masterpiece is a result of trials, edits, and imperfections. It's the struggle, not the shine, that makes the story meaningful. The truth is, people don't connect with perfect, they connect with real. They connect with your honesty, your chaos, your unfiltered moments. And the more you embrace those parts of you, the stronger you become. Owning your imperfections doesn't mean settling. It means seeing your value beyond society's narrow standards. It means refusing to be photoshopped in life just to be palatable. Because when you show up as your whole self, mess and all, you break barriers. You become a mirror for others who are tired of pretending. There is beauty in contradiction. You can be confident and still uncertain, brave and still scared, healing and still hurting. These dualities don't cancel each other out. They make you layered, complex, and real. You don't have to have it all together to be powerful. In fact, it's the very act of pushing forward despite the imperfection that makes you powerful. Some people will only see the flaws, the cracks, the mistakes. Let them. Their limited view is not your problem. You weren't made to be flawless. You were made to be whole. And being whole means showing up with your wounds, your wisdom, your stumbles, and your strength. It means speaking even when your voice shakes. It means sharing your truth even when it's messy. That's courage. That's authenticity. That's impact. You don't need to perform perfection to be worthy. You don't need to hide your past to deserve your future. There's no shame in the missteps, the rough drafts, the vulnerable parts of your journey. The strongest stories come from the most shattered places. It's not the smooth chapters people remember, it's the ones where you fell and still found the strength to rise again. And it's in those moments, the raw ones, the imperfect ones, where your real power begins to surface and your voice begins to echo beyond the walls of curated perfection.